Today we're going to talk about our process for buying a whole cow for our family of currently 3. And while we talk about it, I'm going to be cooking part of the whole cow we just bought. We are currently cooking short ribs today. I'm doing them in the crock pot, and when I do crock pot meals like this, I love to double it up because then you do all the prep work at the same time and you get twice the meals, and meals like this freeze so wonderfully. Now, I grew up on a 40-acre farm in West Virginia, and as a kid, we always had beef cows. So my entire childhood, and this was before, the internet and social media, so you're not like comparing things to the way other people do it or how, they live their lives. I just thought everybody, had beef cows and would occasionally eat them. On our farm, that was the one animal that we weren't allowed to name. And that was just because sometimes we would wake up and one of those cows just wouldn't be there anymore. So, my parents really didn't want us to name them and get too attached. They were trying to instill that concept that, these are animals that we love and we care for, and we let them live, happy lives out in the field and eating grass and in the sunshine. But eventually they are there, for food purposes. And I know a lot of people that can really throw them off, but when you go to the grocery store, that really cuts out that process of, almost like humanizing what it is that we are eating. I think we do need to be kind of more exposed to these are real animals and real creatures that need love and comfort, throughout the life that they do get to live before they become our food. And I think how that food is cared for and how that food gets the opportunity to, live during the time that it is here can make such a difference in, not only the quality of the food, but just the quality of the relationship that we get to have with our food. And I've always kind of had that mindset about it. Now, when I went to college, it really threw me off to find out, that not everybody eats that way. A lot of people just eat out of the grocery store. And I started buying grocery store beef, and oh my goodness, the difference. It was day and night. So I've always really had an affinity towards having really high quality meat. Now, that can seem a little off-putting to people, thinking that buying high quality meat is going to throw your budget off. But when you plan accordingly, it can actually work more in your favor than you think. For our little family, it's my husband, myself, and our toddler right now. We recently bought an entire cow. And every time I tell, either clients or different people that story, they're like, well, you bought an entire cow? Like, yes. And over the next 6 months, we intend to, consume pretty much the majority of that. We cook all of our meals at home. We do breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We very rarely ever eat out. And when you're cooking, all of these meals regularly for your family, you do go through a lot of food. And if we were buying all of this food in the grocery store at the quality of what we are eating currently, a lot of the cuts that we get with a full cow are very nice cuts of beef. And if we were buying these in the grocery store, by the time we bought the amount of food that we're getting at grocery store prices, I guarantee you we're going to come out spending more money in the grocery store than what we're spending by buying it in bulk. Now, that being said, we actually shop around a little bit for where we buy that beef in bulk. We live in a big city. Well, it's becoming a big city. It's still not quite a large city. But Nashville is growing, and Nashville prices are also growing. So if you buy your beef, as a full cow within city limits, kind of within this area, you're going to pay those prices, which for some people that works super great. But for me, I am a thrift shopper at heart, and I know there is always a better way to get a better price. And that is so true even when it comes to our food. For us, we actually travel a little bit to find a great farm that provides that high quality care for the animals during the time that they do get to be in the fields and be out in the sunshine and, live that happy life until they are full size. But we actually travel to pick it up and then bring it back to our house. And like I said, this is just a farm that we know very well, and we know how the animals are treated, and it makes me, have so much more ease sleeping at night knowing that we are getting that, good relationship with the food that we are consuming. Now, a lot of people are going to wonder, well, how much does it cost to buy a whole cow, or even half a cow, or even a quarter of a cow? And this is going to differ depending on where you buy it. Some places will just price it at a set price. If you want an eighth of a cow, it's going to be this much money. If you want a quarter of a cow, it'll be this much money. If you want half a cow, full cow, they have their set prices. The farmer that we work with, he bases all of his prices off of weight, which I really enjoy that because we've bought multiple cows off of him and the prices have always differed. But that's because the size of the cow has always differed, which in my mind, that makes the most sense. If I'm getting more beef, then I do expect to pay a little bit more. Whereas if I'm getting less beef, I don't want to pay that same price I paid for the full size cow that I got before. So for ours, we recently bought a cow and he prices it off of the weight of the cow before it goes to be processed. And what that means is you're paying for how much that cow weighed while it was still living, while it was still grazing. What was that original weight that it was actually at? Now, you will not get that amount of pounds in beef because a lot of that doesn't become actual edible food. Now, you can use a huge portion of it, but there's still going to be some that, just isn't consumed from that cow. But like I said, we still pay the price of the original cow before it went in to get processed. That's what our price is based off of. And each year, as with inflation and everything else, that price also becomes affected. And then we have to factor in how will that affect our total versus, other options that we may have. And even though our price went up this year in 2024, it still made so much more sense for us to buy the entire cow that way rather than going the grocery store route. The other thing I really enjoy about the farmer that we work with is he literally gives us a sheet where we get to pick and choose what cuts are we kind of leaning towards. What cuts will we actually use and how do we want this meat actually processed? Now, we're not coming down to like exact picky measures, but it helps me to really prioritize what are our favorite ways to use beef. And after buying so many cows, we have, very much a rhythm down of what cuts we like, how we like to use them, and what works best so that we are using every single bit and absolutely nothing is going to waste. So that was another reason why we liked working with him. You're not going to find this at every facility. It depends on who you work with. So I really personally recommend going to, the small farmer, the individual farmer, and talk to them and see what your options are, see how they work with people. And, everyone's going to have their own way of doing things. And you just want to, as with all things, shop around until you find what fits best for your budget, what fits best for your family, and what fits best for you, from a moral standpoint of how that cow was raised and how that animal was treated and how you want, how do you want your food quality to be from every aspect. Now, a quick break from talking about a cow. Right now, I am prepping the bagel dough that I like to make the night before so that the next morning I can make the sourdough bagels that I really enjoy. I've already posted another video of what that process kind of looks like to actually make those bagels. We absolutely love them and do them pretty regularly. This crock pot recipe for the short ribs, I'm always fiddling with recipes to find the absolute best way that we love to make things and I really like how these turned out, so I will be making it this way from here on. So I will see if I can put the full recipe in the description, because I am currently working on getting my blog going, but I don't want you guys to have to wait on seeing what we did for these short ribs, so I will put it down in the description for you. And, the whole point of this video was just to kind of open your mind to the concept of purchasing your beef differently. And it's just one way that my family looks to budget our spending money for groceries and buy food that we can really stand behind and that we feel good eating and that is extremely high quality. And in buying it through this process, it's not breaking the budget, which is always my goal. So thanks for being here, guys, and I hope you stick around.